The Golden State Warriors just got a double dose of great news as a player who has been out of the lineup recently is returning back, and a player who we haven't really seen in the lineup at all this season, and Warriors fans have been clamoring for it, saw his first real action. We'll dive into all that on today's show. But guys, we need to send good vibes to our Golden State Warriors, and you need to show your pride right now. If you want the Golden State Warriors to make the playoffs this season, because they are on the outside looking in right now, hit that thumbs up icon and like today's video. Theoretically, everybody who watches this video, and if you're a diehard Warriors fan, should like the video. What's going on, Dub Nation? You're watching Warriors Today by Chat Sports. I'm your host, Tyler Smith, and the great news, the first piece, the first dose of great news, that Andrew Wiggins will return to the Golden State Warriors lineup after missing the previous 2 games for your Dubs. Remember, Andrew Wiggins out with personal issues. Not necessarily anything negative, though. Steve Kerr did want to iterate that to the Golden State media when he said that this is nothing negative going on with Andrew Wiggins and his family. And this is going to be something that he'll be back in the lineup, no problem, in the coming games. And glad to see him be back returning for a hometown return matchup with his Toronto Raptors. And this is great news for Golden State because they're on the outside looking in as far as the postseason goes right now. Look at that. The 11th seed for Golden State. How quickly the mighty have fallen after starting the season 12-3. The Warriors are 7-16 in their last 23 games. Now they're no longer in the play-in picture. The Phoenix Suns just jumped them due to the tiebreaker. And, they're a half a game back from missing the play-in altogether. Spurs hot on their tails to jump them from that 12 to the 11th seed. However, though, I do want to point out that the Mavericks, they're at the 5th seed. They're only 2.5 games ahead of Golden State in the standings. So Golden State's just a couple of wins away potentially from jumping all the way up to could be the 5th seed or, maybe falling outside the top 12 seeds in the Western Conference. So with Andrew Wiggins returning back to the lineup, hopefully this bodes well for a Golden State team that is struggling offensively. The 26th ranked offense in the NBA since December 1st. And we're going to need some big games from number 22 here, man. What he's done for Golden State so far this season has been great. He had a great start to the year like most Warriors on this roster did. 16.5 points on pretty decent efficiency, close to 40% from three-point range, and he was above 40% for long stretches during the beginning of this season. But over the last 10 games, he's really, really fallen off a cliff statistically. 13.5 points, just not what you're going to want from a guy who's making $25 million a year in your lineup. The efficiency is really where it's bad for Andrew Wiggins, though. 42% from the field overall, and then below 30% from three-point distance. And he's still taking a bunch per game, still taking 5 of them per game, and he's only hitting about 1.5 of those each outing for Golden State. So they're going to need him to really bump up his production, bump up his efficiency, and bump up his overall quality of play. This is a guy who's been an all-star in the past for Golden State. Somebody who could be the best wing defender and the complementary scorer next to Stephen Curry that they've lacked all season long. They're going to need him to perform because Jonathan Kuminga is not in the lineup currently, and we have no real timetable as to when he'll be returning. Yet about 2 more weeks till he even sees a reevaluation from his ankle injury. So the Warriors are going to need Andrew Wiggins to perform. And, guys like Draymond Green on the roster, they know this. They know that, Wiggins is a big-time player on this team, somebody who Steve Kerr has talked about as the number 2 option on this team. And with Jonathan Kuminga out, they need somebody to actually put the ball in the basket because they don't have a ton of creators on the roster as is. Here's what Draymond had to say about Andrew Wiggins kind of stepping up in this time without Kuminga. He said, "We're going to need a much heavier dose of Andrew Wiggins. And the last couple of games, he's been really aggressive. We need that, especially starting with the second half of that Memphis game when JK went out. Wiggs picked it up, and we're going to need him to be really aggressive." And, let's be honest, in the last 10 games for Andrew Wiggins, he hasn't been super aggressive, and it hasn't paid off for him, right? 12.9 field goals attempted per game over his last 10, and, you just looked at the numbers and the efficiencies, they have not been good for Andrew Wiggins. You might need him to bump up those numbers a little bit, maybe, surge to about 16, 17, 18 field goal attempts per night because, let's be honest, man, Golden State doesn't have a ton of creators offensively on this team. And, you're going to maybe have to consolidate this rotation a little bit as, you're going to need to keep stacking wins in a Western Conference where it's really hard to stack wins. And, there's 6, 7, 8 teams all within 3 games of each other in the standings right now. Every game matters for Golden State. So, Andrew Wiggins needs to be back in this lineup tonight. He needs to have a big night and needs to continue that kind of production moving forward. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments section, though. Do you believe in Andrew Wiggins as this guy who could be Golden State's number 2, can play at an all-star level, Let me know down in the comment section. Type B for believe, type D for don't on whether or not Dub Nation is rocking with Andrew Wiggins or not. Next, the Golden State Warriors finally made this major move in their rotation, and it's been one that Warriors fans have really been clamoring for all year long, ever since they picked him in the second round. We'll talk about that big 7-footer on the back half of today's show, but first, I got to give a major shout out to today's sponsor, and that is PrizePicks. PrizePicks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports platform with over 10 million active members, including yours truly. I love PrizePicks because it's so aesthetically pleasing, so easy to play, and they're always trying to hook you up with incredible deals to win real money while watching your favorite sports, including this deal right here where you can get $50 in your account instantly when you play your first $5 entry and use our promo code CLNS. You might be asking me, how do you even place that $5 entry? Super simple. All you guys got to do is pick a lineup of 2 to 6 player stat projections and just pick more or less on those stat projections. I'll give you guys a quick example of the playoff football that we got going on this weekend. They had to move this game due to the things going on in California, so they decided to move this game back an extra day. And we have a great matchup tonight between the Rams and the Vikings. Got more than 8 receptions for Puka Nacua, got less than 60.5 rushing yards for Aaron Jones, and less than 66.8 completion percentage for Sam Darnold. PrizePicks is always throwing in new different type of stat projections that you guys can pick more or less on. It's super fun. So download the PrizePicks app today. Use that promo code CLNS for $50 for free instantly when you play your first $5 entry. You don't even need to win to receive the $50. It's guaranteed. PrizePicks. Run your game. So we got our first extended look. Finally got our first extended look at Quinton Post. Yes, against the Indiana Pacers where the Warriors were missing Steph Curry. They were missing Draymond Green. They were missing Andrew Wiggins, missing Jonathan Kuminga, missing a whole slew. Basically, their top 4 players on the roster were all out. So Golden State had to create a bigger rotation, and that bigger rotation included some extended minutes from Quinton Post. He was in the game here in the fourth quarter when Golden State was down 7, hit a big-time 3 to cut the game to a 4-point deficit. Golden State obviously did not come away with the win and didn't have the scores in the clutch to make that happen, but Quinton Post gave you good minutes in his first real extended run for Golden State. Didn't get any rebounds or didn't dish out any assists or defend the rim, and record any blocks or steals. But offensively, he was good, man. Had an and one as well. Went 1 for 1 from the line, and 2 for 4 overall in the game. I like what I saw from Quinton Post. And for Warriors fans who have been asking for a true 7-footer, and for the front office to believe in the player that they took in the second round of this past NBA draft, I like to see Quinton Post in these type of opportunities. He's a two-way player on a two-way contract. You're going to see him a ton in Santa Cruz playing in the G League team where he's been playing well, but you're also going to have to see him for a certain number of games during the NBA season. I was glad to get a look from Quinton Post, and so was Steve Kerr. Here's what he had to say post-game. He said, "It was fun getting Quinton his first real minutes at a time when we're still in the game, just to see him come out there and space the floor. You see what the impact is of having a space big. You can just go and pick and pop, and all of a sudden, the whole lane opens up, and that's a nice look for us." We'll talk about those words from Steve Kerr more in depth toward the end of today's show, but those are some interesting words from Steve Kerr there. I was glad to see that he had a ton of confidence in his young rookie here in his first real extended run for Golden State. Hopefully we see Quinton Post sooner rather than later, as maybe he can create a real impact positively for Golden State in the rebounding department and in the floor spacing department, like Steve Kerr alluded to there. Here's what Quinton Post had to say about his performance. He said, "From here on, obviously, I'm still dealing with some nerves, so hopefully as I get more experience, I just kind of feel more free-flowing out there. Try to make the right read." Those are things that kind of with time that will develop, I think. And that's a great mindset to have. He feels kind of good about the way that he played in his first outing, and from moving on, it's just kind of picking up on things you got to read. How when the defense is attacking you one way, are you going to screen? Are you going to roll to the basket, or are you going to pop outside the 3-point line? Those are things that more come with more experience and more time in the NBA playing against these top level pros. Hopefully, Quinton Post gets more experience in that regard. Now, and Warriors fans have been clamoring for Quinton Post this whole time. You guys are in my comment section. I hear you guys every day. We need a 7-footer, but why don't we go to the guy that we already have in-house? Well, it was good to see that he got some first big minutes with Golden State over the weekend. Let me know down in the comment section if you agree with the people that I've been seeing all season long clamoring for Quinton Post already. Should QP be a part of Golden State's rotation? Type Y for yes, type N for no, on whether or not we should see more Quinton Post. I don't know. Maybe there's a chance that we should, right? Because the last 4 G League games, the guy's been balling. 23, nearly 24 points over his last 4 games in Santa Cruz. over 13 rebounds per night, shooting a blistering 61% from the field and 48% from three-point range. Like Steve Kerr said, he gives you that opportunity to space the floor at the 5 when he's a real 7-footer out there, can also defend the rim and, be that pick and roll guy for, Golden State team that doesn't necessarily have that high pick and roll dominance like a lot of teams in the NBA do. They still try to work around this movement offense, but, with a guy like Post in the game and maybe a guy like Dennis Schroeder who did assist him on that pick and pop play, like that's a brand of basketball that the Golden State Warriors are willing to play. Now, are we going to see Quinton Post again anytime soon for Golden State? Is he going to be a consistent member of this rotation? Probably not. He did go back to the G League on Sunday, and if that was the case, Golden State would have kept him up, and they would have kept him playing over the stretch of games, especially a stretch of games where they're seeing a ton of injuries. Like GP2 is out, Pajemski's out, and while they don't play the same position, this is another body that Golden State will have available at their disposal. I want to go back to what Steve Kerr had talking about Quinton Post here, and just another interesting quote about his line of thinking right now is the trade deadline is only a couple weeks away now. He said, if Quinton can develop, he could be a real threat for us and give us a totally different look offensively. Now, what type of look is that? What we've been talking about. It's his ability to space the floor and be that pick and pop guy and shoot an efficient percentage beyond the three-point line as that true 7-footer. To switch kind of gears here, looking at where Golden State can improve upon on this roster and different elements they can add to their arsenal offensively, they need this kind of guy who can pick and pop and can space the floor. Saying you're getting a totally different look, well, maybe the Golden State Warriors need a totally different look on the offensive end. This could mean something, and it could mean trading for Nikola Vucevic. They seem to, will let the Los Angeles Lakers be in the driver's seat to make a deal for one of these two guys. Like, this is a guy who is shooting 42% from three-point range this season. This is a guy who, Golden State believes can improve and help this roster get closer to contending in the Western Conference and making the postseason. Like, I like a guy like, Quinton Post, making his presence known, but is he totally ready for this team to believe in him and lean on him during stretches where they need to stack wins? Probably not. So bring in a guy like a Nikola Vucevic to hopefully help this team get better and better and have a bona fide all-star level talent on the team accompanying Steph Curry, accompanying Andrew Wiggins, accompanying Draymond Green. Because you won't have to give up any of those top guys to get a player like Nikola Vucevic. He is on a $20 million a year deal. So maybe go out there and get this deal done sooner rather than later so Golden State has a little bit more of a presence down low in the front court. I know TJD's been playing well, but Vucevic is definitely a step up on the offensive end. Not on the defensive end, but this is a guy who can put the ball in the cup and could score at a bunch of different levels and be a glass cleaner for a Golden State team that struggles to grab rebounds right now. We can continue this conversation more on Twitter, though. Hit me up at Smitty at CS. I'm posting the Warriors news, live tweeting games sometimes over on there. And make sure you guys are subscribed. Thank you guys so much for helping us hit 71,000 subscribers right here on Warriors Today. We love you. We support you. If you're a diehard Warriors fan, you're going to love what we got going on this channel. So we'll see you in the next one. Let's go Dubs.